Hello, my friends. Just a quick note. I'm offering a 2-hour online class on building confidence in your intuitive work and mediumship. This is an amazing foundational class, so if you don't know where to start with your gifts or you're looking for support, I'll be discussing the pitfalls and traps of our analytical minds and techniques on how to align with your true spiritual self. The class is Sunday, December 29th, and you can find out more info and sign up at italktoghosts.com. I keep this class small and casual, so I hope to see you there. Hello and welcome to I Talk to Ghosts, the podcast that prefers to sleep on the spooky side of the bed. I'm your spirited host, Jennifer, a medium and a collector of ghost stories. I admit this episode might make you a little sleepless. I'll be sharing tales of haunted beds. Why do I do it? But then we shift from the spooky to the spiritual with a special reading for my podcast guest, Valerie. Listen to what specific details and messages come through for her to let her know her past loved ones are still with her. Speaking of messages, I will also have a message from the spirits for someone listening to this episode. So after Valerie's reading, please join me at my seance table to see if there is a message just for you. That's later on in the podcast. But first, nighty-night. The tales of the haunted beds are happening right now. This happened to me about 6 years ago, but I'll never forget a single detail. I was staying with my aunt during my studies in London. My aunt was a kind lady in her 50s and living in a 2-bedroom house. She showed me to my room, and I remember thinking how cozy it was with its small bed, a desk perfect for studying, a chair for reading, and a charming cupboard for all my clothes. The first night I was sleeping in bed, and I woke up in the middle of the night because I heard an old woman softly crying. Her small, sickly voice was saying, How could I sleep on her while she was in so much pain? I was terrified and couldn't explain what it was I was hearing. I spent the rest of the night sleeping in my room's chair. The next morning, my aunt asked me how I slept in the new space. I didn't tell her what had happened. I was trying to convince myself it had all been a strange nightmare. I was very uncomfortable with the idea of sleeping in that bed, but I had no choice. Nights went by, and if I was woken up by this strange, sad voice, I moved to the chair until morning. After a few months, a friend of my aunt came to visit us. He was telling me how he had took my aunt to a charity shop run by a hospice, and this is where they found the nearly new bed for my current bedroom. I was shocked to hear the origins of this bed. Still, not knowing this man and not wanting to look irrational, I kept my suspicions to myself. And that night, I gave the bed a deep cleaning. The base of the bed had 3 drawers underneath it. I opened one drawer, and I found numerous cards and gift papers inside. I took them out, and I was shocked to find out they were condolence cards for an old lady who had died after a long illness. Some of the cards had messages for her children, and there were notes about her maladies written by hospice nurses. Emotionally saturated by my find, I told my aunt everything and handed her the bundle of cards. I confessed the details of my sleeplessness due to this old woman's crying, how she always woke me up and would moan about her pain. The next day, my aunt threw out the bed and bought me a brand new one. We got rid of everything belonging to that bed, and I, with all my heart, wish the spirit of this lady to find peace. Wherever she is, I hope she's finally pain-free. A few years back, I was attending an educational conference at a hotel in Orlando, Florida. I had a very secluded room on the 9th floor. You had to go all the way down the hall, take a left, and go past a service set of stairs and around another corner to find this hotel room. I almost couldn't find it my first night. I had attended the conference all day, had dinner, and around 10:30 p.m. I turned off the lights and went to bed. I tossed and turned a little bit, every time checking the clock. The last time I looked at the clock, it was 4:30 in the morning. I was slowly falling back asleep when I felt a body get into my bed and snuggle up close to me. The bed definitely had a large weight next to me. I was freaked out. All I can think of was someone had slipped into my room, and I was trying not to panic. Only seconds went by when I moved my hand to the back of my leg to see if I could feel a person. A large hand touched my hand and held it. It wasn't an aggressive hold. It was actually sort of affectionate. I bolted up at that moment and turned on the light, but no one was there. The bed was empty. I hurriedly turned on all the lights in the room. My door was still locked and bolted. No one was in the room with me. My heart was racing. I couldn't go back to sleep after that. I got ready for my day, and when the time came around, I went to more work meetings. I had never experienced anything like this. I had never heard of it happening to anyone before until I talked to a friend later that day who was interested in ghosts and spirits. That night, I was apprehensive to go to bed. I kept all the lights on. I should have asked to change rooms, but I felt silly about doing that during the day. I talked to my friend on the phone again, and she calmed me down a bit. I spoke out loud to the room and asked if anyone had anything it wanted to tell me. Nothing happened. I went to bed finally after midnight, exhausted. I put pillows all around me, like a pillow fort would manage to keep a ghost out. I eventually fell asleep, and this time, nothing crawled into bed with me. This happened in the summer of 1978. I was 10 years old at the time, and my mother was taking me, my older brother Eric, and my father to Scotland to visit her pen pal from youth, Beth. We were all very excited to be crossing the ocean. My mother has always been fascinated with all things occult. I can't count the number of times that my mother and I would pack up and fly off somewhere to spend the weekend in a haunted house. But never did we see, sense, or hear anything. But my mother's quest to find a real supernatural experience had never faded. We arrived at Priestwick Airport, and my mother and her pen pal were able to meet for the first time in over 20 years. During that evening, my mother and Beth somehow got onto the subject of the supernatural, specifically ghosts. My mom told Beth how we had searched and searched for a ghost and never found one. At this, Beth paused and then told us about her grandmother's house about 4 hours from where we were. It seems her grandmother's house is very haunted. She told us that not a week goes by that they don't hear or see something in that house. That's all it took. Our bags were packed, and the entire family, including Beth's, were off to grandmother's house. Beth and her family were given a room to sleep in, and we were put in another. It's necessary to describe the room here. It was a basic square room, and the unique thing was the bed. It was monstrous. It filled the entire room. The headboard was huge and thick and intricately carved. There was a 3-foot wide walk space that extended along the foot of the bed and over to the right-hand side. At the head of this bed, there was a small night table with a lamp. That night, my mother slept at the head of the bed by the lamp, my father beside her. My brother slept with his head at the foot of the bed on my mother's side, and I did the same on my father's side by the wall. At about 3 a.m, all 4 of us sat up in bed and looked at each other. There was a chill in the air, as well as a feeling of trepidation. I reached over and turned on the light. As I was reaching for the lamp, it occurred to me what was wrong. The light came on at the flick of the switch, and the mystery was revealed. The bed had completely turned around in the room. The headboard was now up against the door. We all sat there and looked at each other for what seemed like an eternity, trying to grasp the situation. After a while, I think we all just gave up. We got out of bed and had to yell for someone to help us. You see, it was impossible to turn the bed around in this small room. We had to have tools handed to us through the door so we could take the bed apart and stack it against the wall. We have no explanation as to how this happened. I will never forget this experience as long as I live. The feeling in the room when we woke up, the chill that went down my spine as the light came on, and then the realization that the bed had been picked up and turned around, with 4 people sleeping in it without waking any of us. Let alone the fact that whatever had turned the bed had to warp space somehow in order to do it. The power of whatever did this was truly humbling. Needless to say, we left at about 4 a.m., and my mother's quest for a supernatural experience wasn't talked about anymore. This year, when you're at another boring holiday gathering, make sure to turn to the person next to you and ask, "Hey, do you know any good ghost stories?" And then share the I Talk to Ghosts podcast with them. No more awkward silences trying to figure out what to say, what to talk about. Talk about ghosts. Talk about spirit readings. Share the I Talk to Ghosts podcast. Thank you and happy spooky holidays. Hello and welcome back to I Talk to Ghosts. My guest this evening is Valerie. Valerie, how are you doing? Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm very excited and nervous, but I'm excited.
It's the energy, I've got a bunch of things swirling around for you, so it might start off a little open.
Okay.
But feelings I'm getting, there is a woman offering comfort and saying, "Hey, I'm okay. Everything is okay." And it's like comfort and friendship is coming through with her. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. So she's in here. She's swirling around. And then I'm getting some energy of, it all comes in like a ball, right? Yeah. A lot of, there's just a lot of sensitivity coming in. Like, oh my gosh, everything, bothers me. That is swirling around. And then it seems like as I don't push, I don't want to try, but as I inquire, there does seem to be this barrier of privacy and wanting to be private. And we don't talk about stuff, or it could be like, what is this? What's going on? Type of thing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. A lot of
Okay.
sense, especially if it's the same woman that you're talking about. Especially if it's her, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, maybe she's a private person,
Mm-hmm.
or if it could be multiple layers of things going on
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, oh, I'm not sure about this. In a way, I'm getting the sense of I'm going to wait for Valerie.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Because here I was by myself, and they're not going to talk to me if it weren't for you.
Yeah. Okay.
So let me kind of draw closer to this woman. She does feel nurturing, but there is this friendship vibe to it. Like was she just a friend to you? Just, you,
A friend slash sister slash like, but there were some barriers there too. She got really sick, and did not tell. To this day, I don't know why I don't know why for sure why she died. She wouldn't share it with anybody.
okay. This makes
Um,
sense. Okay.
and so there was that kind of sense of privacy, and and we could argue, and but if I needed her, and there were times
Mhm.
where I did,
Mhm.
we could have just had an argument, and she would be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Really big heart. Yeah, she has this sense of kind of turning away and fading off.
like she doesn't want to talk.
No.
Okay.
About her passing.
Mm-hmm.
She's expressing it in a way for you to understand that she felt it would be easier for people to let go
Mm-hmm.
of her
Mm-hmm.
loss.
Mm-hmm.
And this makes me feel this other layer of she experienced loss in her life. So
Mm-hmm.
she knew deep loss.
Mm-hmm.
Does this make sense?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you can understand that because of the wounds she experienced in life,
Mm-hmm.
she was trying to distance and not make it so deep for
Mm-hmm.
everyone. And
Mm-hmm.
we know as human beings that doesn't really work, but there's a
No.
part of us that when the sentiment is there and
Yeah.
she did it out of a sense of caring about how it was going to affect you and others. And hopefully that's understandable.
It is understandable. I'm still mad at her for it.
Now this. Yeah, it's kind of like gotcha with her. Really good sense of humor. There's a lot of jovialness here. Sharp wit.
Yes. Very.
That's okay. I'm originally from Chicago.
Okay.
So I'm used to sarcasm and a harsher sense of humor. Yes. I live in the Pacific Northwest now, and there's not a lot of that. So I don't encounter that a lot in my day-to-day life. So, but it's like, oh, she's kind of bitey.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she could be very bitey. Sometimes to the point of, okay, you need to back off a little bit. But, but yeah, very, actually, I don't know. I'm trying to remember. No, I think she's from Pacific Northwest. But she definitely, I know what you're talking about because my husband's from Chicago and I'm also a Midwest girl. And so I know what you're talking about. And, yeah, she definitely had that. And, her sense of humor would, some of the stuff that she would say to me would be horrible from someone like coming from the outside and listening. But we had that kind of back and forth.
Yeah.
We would say horrible things to each other, like horrible things.
Yeah. I get it. Okay. All right. uh, yeah, that's awesome. Okay. All right. I have to absorb it and then translate it.
Mm-hmm.
She feels very reckless is a strong term, but she has this sense of adventure about her.
Mm-hmm. I don't know that reckless would be too strong.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like to soften things.
Yeah. And it wasn't in the sense of her like doing crazy things like that. Like,
no, it feels more,
yeah.
It's not like, oh my gosh, she's going to hurt herself. It's more like she has this fearlessness about her. Like you only live once type of adventure,
Yeah.
you know? And the sense that she wants to convey this to you, that there's nothing you can't do. And that if you want it, go for it and make it happen and promise it to yourself and do it. And don't let things snag you and stop you and not make it happen, because it's just so important. It feels like there might be more than one person around you who has like, who's like passionate and has strong opinions and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there a younger man who passed who you could describe like that? Okay.
Yeah. Very much so.
Okay. Because it's like, whoa, emotion. Whoa, opinions. A lot of drive?
Yeah.
Okay. Is this like a brother or cousin to you?
It's my brother, I think.
Your brother. Because it's like, I'm seeing this line like across from you, and that can mean, it can mean brother, it can mean cousin, but it feels like it's on that level with you.
Yeah.
Oh my. Okay. He's coming in a little tumultuous.
That makes sense.
This is the weirdest question, but I'm getting this feeling of like south of you, like south, like maybe it was where he lived.
Definitely lived south of me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Weird. I never get that. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this it? I was smelling like a metal shop or something earlier, or metal or grease. Is that associated with him, or can you associate that with anyone else, or is that just this random sensory thing that happened?
Well, I mean, it could be him. He worked for a long time for an office furniture company. I mean, my grandfather owned a farm equipment dealership.
Okay. Because it feels like metal shop.
Okay.
And this, I've been experiencing this a little bit lately, where people are blending it's like the Venn diagram is coming together, and they're just coming through with, oh yeah, well, if we're going to talk about metal, then and it's like, no one said we were talking about metal, but here we are.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. I want to talk to your brother a little bit. He's talking about mindset. His point of view with things. He's being a little private with me. Is what's going on. I feel like I'm pushing, and I don't wanna.
Which doesn't surprise me a whole lot, because I think this kind of thing would be a little uncomfortable for him. But I was still hoping he would come through anyway.
Well, he's here, right?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
He's definitely here. But yeah, it's almost like, so, I mean, that could make sense. Like if he met me in real life, we probably wouldn't be having conversations about mediumship and stuff like that. But
probably not.
But okay, well, let's just go there. It's like, okay, he is expressing himself, how he was in life, because otherwise, how would you recognize him? And then sometimes, once we acknowledge that, hey, did he like hiking or being out in the woods? I'm kind of seeing like hiking shoes, trails, maybe a dog.
Yeah, he hunted. He would go hunting with my brothers would all go hunting together. I don't think they ever did use dogs. He did have a couple of dogs though.
He did have a dog. Okay. So maybe it's just all rolling up. Yeah, it feels like the trail is important. I don't know if they use some kind of tracking type of it feels like he wants to be more natural about it than just high tech.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That sounds like him.
Okay. Yeah. Because it's like feet on the ground, feet in the dirt, connecting with nature while out there. And this was, he wants to call it sacred to him. It wasn't just for sport. That connection to nature.
Yeah, I could see that with him. We would kind of tease him because he would go, my parents had some property and we would all go out there and they had a camper and he would never stay in the camper. He always would take his tarp and literally go make his little nest, whatever, out in the trees. And he would sleep out there, not even in a tent, like he had a tarp.
He's showing me actually some paper maps instead of just digital. He's like, no, these maps are like important and the feel of the paper and is actually part of the connection too, where, you know, how you could get all techie about it and track things on your phone, or you could use like this topographical, seeing like topographical.
Yeah. And it's funny because I've never thought of that with him. My other brother, one of my other brothers who's still living, he was very much like wanted the paper maps and would take them all out of like the National Geographics and stuff. But I could see that with Craig more with the topographical. I mean, I could see that more with him. He definitely would be like, GPS. No GPS.
Yeah, exactly. And it could also be he's bringing it up in acknowledgement of your other brother as well. You know, like continuing that conversation.
Yeah, they were close. They did a lot of stuff together.
Not just with him. I'm getting the sense of there being a lot of books and the smell of books.
Yes. Yeah. He loved to read. We both love to read. I have a couple of his books that I just happened to have. And so after he died, it was like, I'm not giving these up. So
I'm getting this sense of him, a yearning to write from him. Did he ever express that he would love to write his own novel? He could?
Not that I remember, no. But we definitely had those conversations. That's something that I would like to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he's pulling it out.
Yeah.
That is just this, it's that sentence of, gosh, I wish I could do that.
I could see him wanting to do that though. Yeah.
And let's let this flow into encouragement for you, that it's like, make it happen. You know, I know it can be daunting, but start with an outline, you know, and God, he's like, no Chat GPT.
How does he know what that is?
All right, let me tell you. Okay. Everyone, they're still aware. They're still connected. It's not like they're preserved in time. They're still following you through your life, not in a lack of privacy kind of way, but you know, we're all connected, and I don't think there's any barriers there when it comes to what is this newfangled thing, you know?
No, I'm just kind of cracking up because that is something that he would say. You know,
it's like, it applies. And And it's like, of course you wouldn't, but it's a good joke and he had to get it in there. And 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 then it falls in line with that no technology thing. In fact, he's even suggesting that you write by hand, write the outline by hand. There's something about the physical practice of writing and how it engages the brain more so than staring at a monitor and a screen. I mean, I'm sure at some point, but if you ever need inspiration and you want to get a little dreamy about it, grab a pen instead of a keyboard.
That I definitely am that way. I would prefer to like handwrite, at least in the beginning. Yeah.
Awesome. So. This is a random detail that popped into my head super early when I was opening up the space. I was shown a clawfoot tub.
I can't connect that to him, but I can connect that to my grandma.
Yeah. This was way earlier. And it's like, I don't want to forget about it. Yeah. White clawfoot tub, white bathroom.
Yep.
All right. With her, she feels like a smart woman too. You got some smart people in your family.
Yeah.
Very learned in her own way. I don't think there's anything she couldn't figure out if she wanted to. It's just how does it pertain to her life and how is she going to use it? And is it of use to her? Is it of use to her? Seems big.
Yeah.
Okay. And seeing a lot of flowers around her. It feels like I want to be surrounded by flowers. And
she had flowered wallpaper.
I love flowered wallpaper.
Yeah, she had flowered wallpaper, especially in her bedroom. It was like floor to ceiling.
Was there also like a rose soap?
There may have been. That sound. Oh, I wonder if that's my Aunt Evelyn. They were very close, and when Aunt Evelyn was the maiden aunt that came to all of the family get-togethers, and she had the cat eye glasses and all that kind of stuff. And but when she passed away, that was one of the things that Grandma was just horrified. There was this whole thing, but my grandma was just horrified because people were going into her apartment and taking things. And she was still alive. She was in the hospital in a coma, and Grandma was just horrified. And she wanted me to have something of Evelyn's. And so it was, so she came with this little basket, and it had soap and I don't remember if the soap was rose, but the powder was. But she wanted me to have something of Evelyn's, and I still have it somewhere. It's in a box. But
I feel like I lost something there. Hold on, let me get it back. Did Evelyn ever wear like little hats? Like I'm seeing her in a little hat, and like, the little mesh veil.
I'm sure she did when she was younger. I'm sure she did. She liked to dress up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you were mentioning the cat eye glasses, I thought for sure you were going to mention the hair and the hats and the outfits. And
and it was the cat eye glasses, the jewelry, and the rouge on her cheeks, and like she liked to look nice.
Yeah.
She wasn't like super frou-frou, but she liked to look nice.
Yeah, there's this stylishness to it about it. It's not like over extravagant. It is definitely neat.
I couldn't appreciate it when I was a kid, but looking back, like when I was a kid, I was just like, oh, there's Aunt Evelyn with her weird cat eye glasses, but looking back on it, like, she liked to look nice, and especially when the family got together.
She is sharing that she was unconventional. She had a lot of variety of interests in life, and she didn't want to be just one thing. And she was often off to the next interest or focus. If she could have traveled the world, she would have loved that.
She did like to travel. She and my grandma would go places. In the United States.
Sure.
But yeah, I could have seen that for her. Okay. She liked to do things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And she just wants to lend that to you as well. Don't feel like you have to be just one thing.
Yeah.
We are many, many things.
That's so sweet. I would not have expected her to come through.
I don't know. We start talking about bathtubs and you never know.
I know.
I think it almost feels like spirit can come through like train of thought, and it's like, oh, I can snag part of this conversation and I can come in with this a little bit too.
Well, and it makes sense because she and my grandma were close, so.
Your grandma's like, she was my wedge. She got me out there and I was safe with her. Like I could laugh and I can be comfortable. I could be comfortable because she was at my side.
I definitely think that that's true. Just from stories that I've heard about the two of them when they were younger. Yeah. And
it's like this Thelma and Louise type thing.
Nobody's ever said anything like that, but I still would not be surprised. Like, I definitely think that Evelyn had the more adventurous kind of spirit to her, and my grandma was a little bit more conventional.
Okay. Gosh. Okay. Did Evelyn do the driving?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't, I'm wondering if there's a story there about them getting pulled over one time.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if there's anyone you could ask, but it feels like a funny story to me. It's scary at the time because, oh my God, I'm in trouble. But
yeah. Okay. I will have to find out.
Yeah, just see if there's something like that out there or something along that vein. Because it feels like there's something just comical about it. Like someone couldn't find their license or where's the registration or something that seems scary at the time, because no one wants to be in that situation. But in the end, you can laugh about it and have a good story. That would be interesting to know.
Okay.
Oh, we were talking about books. There was another feeling coming in about reading to kids. This just feels like an important emphasis there of, the activity of reading to children was very cherished and important.
And I don't know if this has to do with my brother, Craig, or not, but I have a picture of him laying on the floor with my two nephews and reading them a book.
Okay. Yeah. There's just, it feels very precious and very cherished and important. Like I'm really glad I remembered because as we were talking about books and reading and writing and that was in there too. And it's just a really important sentiment to connect with. And it's almost like when we talk about it, it solidifies it. And when we acknowledge things and share them, it strengthens the connection back and forth between those we've lost and who are here still. And it's just there just feels like there's this flow of energy through reading to each other. Feels very important. Okay.
I've always thought that's important. And I read to my son when I was pregnant with him. I would read aloud and, we did that a lot. That was after my brother passed away.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if that just kind of channeled your brother's energy in a little bit too. Yeah. That's very sweet. I do want to open up the space for you. Was there anyone else you were hoping would come through for you while we're talking?
I really wanted to hear from my friend Jennifer, who I'm pretty sure is the one that came through, and my brother. Yeah. And it occurred to me today. Yeah. I have no idea. We lost a daughter at birth before our son, and I have no idea if that's even possible to connect with her.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I understand. Well, let me see. There's a lot of emotion coming through of that was really hard. That was really difficult. And that was something that was hard to come back from. Mm-hmm. Okay, how do I translate this? She's expressing that she's always been there. Like if you think of her and you look through your past in your life, it feels like she was always there, like she's always been a part of it. So, almost like even when you were a kid, it feels like she's there. So I don't know how to interpret exactly what that means, but it's almost like it's all connected is what she's saying. Like I'm almost seeing like old home family movies of you running around laughing as a kid, and somehow she's a part of it.
Oh, interesting.
So I will never pretend to know the secrets of the universe, but how it feels to me is that her soul and her spirit has been a part of your family before, and it's going to be it's a part of your family now. It's going to be a part of your family in the future. Okay. And it's kind of exploding my brain a little bit. So I'll give you that.
That makes me happy, honestly.
Oh, good. If you feel the need, meditate on that a little bit, like maybe explore that with your soul about how she feels in your past, how she was there, and how she's here now, and how she could be there in the future. If seeing her like this, just this golden light of like adding sparkle to everything. And so, yeah, just reflect on that a little bit and see if that connects even deeper for you, because I feel like it's very healing, and it's also very important to think of life in that way. We just don't. And it's really, there's a lot of poetry to that, and I appreciate that. Yeah.
I definitely don't believe that time is just a one-way thing.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's things fold back on themselves. It's not just a one-way river, Yeah. So
I agree. I feel like with this existence, we need this linear touch point so that we can just perceive the experience that we're having. Yeah. And make it a little more quiet and singular for us to experience that. But and when you open that up and we don't see it from our little keyhole of experience, like what does that look like? I can't comprehend it, but it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Well, the overall sentiment with your family is just there's a lot of levity, and there's a lot of intelligence and a lot of passion and emotion. And there is this connection in nature where you could find a grounding and a sense of purpose through nature and connecting with nature. I did write down a couple messages for you from the collective before we even met.
Okay.
All right. The consensus is navigate through challenges by letting your heart lead you. Like this is going to help you more than anything. When we get spun up in our head and then it's taking over our emotions, it's just not going to help as much as starting with your heart. So navigate through challenges by letting your heart lead you. You don't own, okay. And I speak. You don't owe anyone anything by sacrificing yourself as payment or something. You don't owe anyone anything. We feel like we're so obligated, but in the end, if something isn't right, it's not right. Okay. And, so don't sacrifice yourself.
Okay.
And the other thing is, your intuition is key. It's your intuition, your heart is going to lead you forward. So if there's anything you ever need to navigate, start there. Doing the pro and con list, yeah, that's always great. But then we get too cerebral and we're leaving out our heart and our intuition. And usually our soul knows the answer. And when we fight against that, that's when we get the friction and the stress in our life. You know, so just keep all those things in mind. And just, I don't know, I feel like you have to write a book too. So
I've heard that a few times in my life.
Wonderful. Well, speaking of stories and books, before we go, do you have a personal ghost story you'd like to share?
Like I said, I have a lot. Can I pick two?
Yes. Listener ghost story.
When I was pregnant with my son, so it's funny because I was single for a long time, and I had my son when I was 40, and so and I got married when I was 34. So I was self-reliant, you know, like I was the girl who could mow the lawn and like fix the car and do the things, and then I got married, and for some reason, like I have a hard time sleeping when my husband's not home. And I don't like having the lights off when he's not at home. And he was gone, and I'd gone out for a walk, and it had gotten dark in the meantime. And so I'm on my way home, and I'm like, crap, I did not leave any of the lights on. Like I have to walk into that dark house. I don't want to do it, you know? And I walk up to the house, and there's lights on that I know I did not turn on. And we had heard light switches periodically, like could hear the click. The lights wouldn't go on and off, but it sounded just like someone was doing that. And I was like, oh my gosh, you turned on the lights for me. Like, I know it was not me. And, cause I don't turn them on until I absolutely have to. So, so someone turned on the lights for me so that I would be comfortable with my pregnant self walking in the house. And, so that's one of them. The second one is that it was after my brother died, and I'm probably going to get emotional. It was rough. It was really rough for a lot of reasons. And I was home alone, and I was laying face down on my bed, and I was just sobbing, and loud, messy, you know, the all the tears. And I felt somebody sit down on the bed and put their hand on my back in that way that someone does when they're being comforting. And I rolled over fully expecting to find my husband sitting there, and there was no one there. And that's happened a couple of times, with similar experiences like that. And I believe it was my brother just letting me know, you know, that I'm here, I'm okay. And I've always found that so comforting, you know? And then the third one is, so I know little kids are more open to stuff than adults are, but, my son would have experiences that to the point where my husband and I were like, okay, do we need to, like connect him up with somebody? And because we don't want him to think he's weird, but you know, we think this is real. And like a lot of kids, he grew out of it, but he was about 3 years old, and he came in my room. I'd put him to bed. He came in, and he's like, Mom, they won't stop talking. And I'm like, who's talking to you, honey? And I'm thinking the window's open to outside, nothing like that. The window was closed. We didn't have the TV on. There was nothing else going on. And I said, well, honey, who's talking to you? And he's like, there's all these people in here and they won't stop talking to me. And I kind of stood there for a second and I was like, okay, do you want me to tell them to go away so that you can go to sleep? And he's like, yes. And so I just said, hey, he's trying to sleep. You need to respect that. You need to leave and let him sleep. And I kind of waited for a second. And then I was like, are they gone? And he's like, well, yeah, everybody's gone except for there's this man and there's this little girl and they're standing in the corner and they're just smiling at me, but they're being nice. They're not talking to me. They're just going to hang out with me. And I'm like, okay.
Wow.
And I went in the other room and I was like, what just happened? And I asked him about it later and I asked him to describe the man and the little girl. And I do feel that it's my brother and my daughter.
Oh my goodness.
Because she would have been about 3 years older than him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he would talk to her. He would tell people I have a sister. Like we never hid that from him or anything, but I would hear him talking in his room and he would be talking to her. Wow. And I would go in and so, who are you talking to, buddy? And he's like, oh, I'm talking to Bryn. And I'm like, okay, well, tell her mommy says hi. And he's like, okay. And he would go back to whatever he was doing. And like just experience after experience like that with him. And he's a very intuitive, sweet kid. He's now almost 16. Mm. And when I ask him about that stuff, he doesn't have any memory of it at all. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I do.
Yeah.
And
it feels like there's just a lot of intuition running through your family.
Yeah.
We say it kind of goes away, but I think we just get distracted with the rest of the physical world.
Yeah.
And it's kind of what we pay attention to. And the world demands our attention,
Yeah. When you were talking earlier about intuition and trusting my intuition, and that's something that I have conversations with myself about that.
It's the doing and the reaching and, the practicing of striving is more, just giving it your attention and energy and seeing just what's out there. It's just a beautiful thing. It really is. And you don't need me to do it for you. You really don't. I just, I put an emphasis on it in my life, and it's important to me, to connect with others and connect others with others. And, that's the only thing that separates me, is that I find it very important. Therefore, I will do it. Even if sometimes it makes me nervous too. Yeah. So, well, thank you. Thank you so much for all of this amazing conversation.
Yeah.
And the emotion that comes through with your family. I just want to give it to you and have it, keep it. It's a blanket, it's so much comfort and love for you and encouragement and creativity and humor.
Lots of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I've seen enough of these or listened to enough of them because I listened to them in the car, but, and even with that, I wasn't sure what to expect. So, and that's okay. Yeah. But thank you so much. Yeah, this has been good. And the messages that you had really spoke to me.
Hey, Hey everyone, just a super quick note. I am going to be teaching an online class on building confidence in intuitive work and mediumship. If this sounds like something interesting to you, that you've always had a passion for, and you haven't quite had the confidence to really step forward as an intuitive worker, please join me for my class. It's going to be amazing. It will be held on December 29th, which is a Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. You can find information about it on my website, I Talk to Ghosts, or the official I Talk to Ghosts Facebook page. I taught this class at the Port Gamble Ghost Conference this year, and it was amazing. So I hope you join me, sign up, and I'll see you then. Hello and welcome back to I Talk to Ghosts. I have a message from the spirits this evening, so thank you for joining me at my seance table. As I work tonight, I have with me the stone howlite. You may be familiar with this white stone. Howlite is often used to help calm overactive emotions. It also helps us have patience and clarity as we are dealing with emotional situations. So consider having a piece of howlite with you if that sounds like something supportive that could help you in your journey. What I like to do now is clear my mind, open the space for a spirit to come close. Tonight I have with me a woman with a lot of mom energy. She's talking a lot about celebrations, so perhaps she liked to host company, or perhaps just always looked forward to the family gatherings and family celebrations. There definitely seems to be a little bit of a wedding theme in here. Yes, she's showing me that she actually sang at your wedding, and she's not only a gifted singer, but she's also very funny and entertaining. So a lot of people will bring up your wedding when the subject of your mom is being discussed. She's showing me a lovely pond in her yard with koi fish, and I'm hearing that little bubbling fountain noise. She feels very social and very bright. Any activity that brings people together, such as card games or board games, that is very much up her alley. But she's also sharing with me that she liked to read, which is more quiet and by herself. This was her downtime. Her message for you tonight is, she's showing me her grandkids. She misses you and your children very much. And she says that you're feeling frustrated over a certain situation right now, not moving forward. She's encouraging you to be inspired to look at it a different way, or to use your energy in different ways. And she just, I'm smelling her perfume. It's kind of a powdery floral smell. She just wants to give you a big hug. Know that she loves you, and she's always here to lend her energy to you. So don't ever feel disconnected. Okay. If this message connects for you, of course, please reach out. I love to know. If you happen to have reached out to me and haven't gotten a response yet, I really do try to individually respond to everyone, and I promise you I will. Thank you. Listen to I Talk to Ghosts for an atmospheric chill and to never feel alone, knowing the spirits are always around you. The autumn months are the perfect time to share and recommend this podcast to your ghoulish friends. Thank you for supporting the podcast and sharing the spooky. And with that, dear listener, we've reached the end of this episode of I Talk to Ghosts. I hope you've enjoyed my spirit work this evening, my reading with Valerie, and the message from the spirits. And I also hope you enjoyed those ghostly tales of haunted beds. Have you ever slept in a haunted bed? I think I want to hear about it. So please reach out. In the meantime, wherever you wander off to, in this world or the next, just remember, come back and visit with me. Have a lovely evening and good night.